So how we deal with conflict is a little bit different. So initially, the first thing would be if there's a disagreement between myself and yourself or two students would be just, you might be able to resolve it yourselves through conversation or through whatever, you come to an agreement that you both go, okay, fine. Then if you aren't able to do that, you can invite a mediator to mediate the conversation, because by bringing a third party, it can help just create a little bit of space, and a third party perspective can help with reflection. So if you don't want to avail of that, or you have availed of it but it hasn't resolved the thing that was coming up for you, you can write an invitation to what we call our Restorative Café. So in the Restorative Café, we like to have it set up so it's an environment that's conducive to a conversation. So we have a little bit of music playing in the background, we have tea and coffee and snacks, because it's not this terrible thing, oh my God, there's been a conflict, what are we going to do, who was right, who was wrong, who's going to get punished. So the framework we'd work under would be, the communication style would be more of a compassionate communication style. And try and frame it in terms of what happened, how the people felt, what is that they wanted to happen or would want to happen in the future, and what it is they were needing. Sometimes it's just acknowledgement, sometimes it's just to be heard. It could be lots of different things, but you're trying to work out what that need is and see, is there a way that we can come to an agreement that meets your need and my need? And sometimes that's straightforward, and sometimes it can be not straightforward at all. There can be deep conflicts with deep issues that, people feel very, very strongly about. And having two people in the room to resolve that, can be challenging. So in those situations, we'll do a pre-chat, what we call a pre-chat, which is before we actually have the Restorative Café session. One of the Restorative Café clerks will have a conversation with either party or both parties, or maybe one RC clerk will have a conversation with one and one with the other. And it's to really get a sense, just one-on-one, what happened for you, what is it that you kind of need, what requests would you make as we go into this RC session. And through that process, we had one that went on for a long time, it was a couple of weeks. It started off as, I don't want to do it. But as you dug into why not, there was a need for safety there. They were concerned that they would be attacked and judged, and they wouldn't be able to stand up for themselves. So we worked through, well, what kind of thing could we put in place that would then you would feel safe, And then that request was made of the other person in a pre-chat, and then they came back with their own, request, and that went back and forth for a while until we actually had the session. And but by the time we had the session, the work was done. And the first request was the person just wanted to be heard. They wanted to say what they need to say uninterrupted, but they agreed not to say, use judgmental words or assessing words of the other person. They just wanted to share their experience. But because that had all been agreed to, it flowed very effortlessly, and it was lovely. And at the end, we finished it, and the two people who had the conflict, all the RC clerks left because the Restorative Café was finished, and they sat there chatting and laughing at times. And so that was very satisfying and encouraging to see that. And then they're left with a sense of agency, like the two people resolved the conflict, but they did it through their own, they left with that, and they left with that skill.